Welcome back to Built to Ship, the podcast where we go behind the scenes with founders and product leaders shipping AI products into the world. I'm excited today because we have two co-founders instead of just one. We've got Nir and Eric, co-founders of Cloudonix, a voice and messaging platform with built-in AI capabilities. Cloudonix empowers builders, telecoms, MSPs, and developers to deploy voice agents, IVRs, voice-enabled workflows with simple APIs, no-code tools, and real-time AI. Really looking forward to this conversation. Thank you both for joining.
Our pleasure.
Awesome. Well, let's start with the origin. What were you guys doing before Cloudonix? When did you meet? And then how'd you get the idea for the business?
That goes back.
Let's do it.
You go with origin, and I'll go with the meat.
Okay. Origin. So Cloudonix chronologically started somewhere around 2016. So it wasn't really back, an AI platform, wasn't designed for that. Originally, it was designed to be an in-app communications platform for mobile applications, web applications. And it all started with my car breaking down in the middle of the night with my wife driving it. And basically, just, looking at the back then mobile apps for insurance companies, all these forms, it was just horrible. And I said to myself, why can't I just, call the insurance company, and the guy on the other side will say, hey, I know where you are. I'm sending you a pizza and the tow truck is on its way. And that was the original vision. Things evolved. We got COVID. We had the work from home, work from anywhere, trending. And then we got, into AI. And AI just, we looked at what we do and said, wow, our platform can actually give a lot of value in the AI world because it was designed to be programmable completely from start to finish. And Cloudonix was always designed to be what we refer to as unopinionated. So we do not inflict our opinion as to how business needs to work. So you look at other platforms, other communications platforms, be it a CCaaS, contact center or unified communications, they're all very opinionated. And we said, no, that's not, we don't believe in that. And that was the original vision, even back in 2019. So that's where we come from. And when AI came, it was just a natural, pivot into that realm and to make it far more accessible than anything else.
I hate that word pivot.
It's not really a pivot,
It wasn't a pivot because we didn't stop what we were doing and move somewhere else. We just added another use case vertical. And there's a big difference because all of the infrastructure, all of the services that we've been selling since 2019 as a SaaS are still there, still being used in all of those same use cases. But now suddenly our hottest use case is enabling agentic AI voice.
Yeah, exciting. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you guys, probably by design, but also, a little bit of luck, the way that you built the system is like really worked well with AI. And I would definitely want to dive into that a bit more. But Eric, were you going to tell us like the meat story and anything else?
Nir and I know each other. Okay, Nir and I know each other for 23, 24 years now. Tried working together and working things out in the early 2000s. It didn't work. Our jobs just didn't come together. I came to work with Nir at a startup called Humbug Labs, which was doing telecom fraud prevention. With the worst possible CEO story you could ever possibly want.
Yeah. That was faster.
We had a CEO who was imposed upon by the investors, who had an MBA, had never worked high tech, had never worked telecom, had never worked a startup.
Wow. They really wanted to give you a challenge.
Basically, they wanted somebody to watch their money.
Yeah.
And his primary contribution was up 2 and 1 to the left on the logo kind of information.
Yeah.
Humbug went under at the end in early 2012. By end of March, it was gone. Nir and I kept the service alive for another decade because people were using it and it was useful, but the company had died. So I went to work for Nir as part of his consulting company, and eventually, as he mentioned, we spun off the Cloudonix platform.
Amazing.
I know Nir and our co-founder, Oded. I actually know Oded's wife longer than I know Oded. And I've had the extreme pleasure of dancing at both Nir and Oded's weddings. The families are very integrated and friendly.
Amazing. I mean, the co-founders that you work with, super important, right? And so like going through something, while it probably wasn't a great experience with that other CEO at Humbug, like, they probably built some like, we're not going to do it this way kind of things.
Well, let's put it this way. We got amazing war stories if you want them, but yes. I don't think it's for this podcast.
You learn a lot by being part of something that fails.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. I mean, you kind of can watch and say like, okay, when I do this, I'm not going to do it that way. I don't agree with this decision, etc. So
there were a couple of things that we learned that were really good and were primary arguments. And this is kind of going a little ahead into the lessons later that you want us to talk about. We got very much into the argument with him on the topic of Apple versus Google style pricing. Okay. Apple, they can afford to pay more. Google, I don't care. I'm going to charge a lower price so I can get more of them. And this kind of philosophical discussion kills a lot of startups because, yes, maybe they can afford to pay more. Can you actually justify it? It's much easier to start with lower price and then scale up than to come in at a ridiculous price just because it's, in your mind, value to them. If you can't get that value prop out to the customer, it goes under. That was where we ended up dying that company.
So, and then that company was also, you mentioned in telecom. Would you say that was like, tech wise, was it relevant to some of the stuff you guys are doing now, or is it kind of a big difference in terms of like the work you were doing there?
Humbug was a really good idea in terms of what it did for an enterprise customer and so on. The implementation wasn't bad. The main issue there was, number one, it required a significant technical uplift from the customer side in order to use it, on one hand. Getting vendors, getting customers to use it wasn't really easy. So the sales cycle wasn't that much. It was designed to be a SaaS, but it couldn't be a SaaS. And that was a mistake. But, putting that aside, what we ever did at Humbug wasn't really relevant to what we're doing in Cloudonix. There are some, things that we've learned along the way at Humbug, but they're not really related, although both are in the telecom space.
It was more what we brought to Humbug that was still relevant for what we're doing now than what we took from Humbug.
Yeah, yeah, sort of. So something a little bit about us as founders. So I've been a, let's say, open source telecom developer since about 2001. And if you're heard of projects such as Asterisk and Camilio and FreeSwitch, which are the leading projects inside the open source world for telecommunications, then I'm an active developer on some of them, contributor, and so on. Oded, if you check his profile, is like top 2% developers on Stack Overflow. The guy answered like 95,000 questions.
Wow.
And Eric has been, in the telecom industry for multiple years. So we have a very rich developer / technical / telecom background. So what we build with Cloudonix is actually building on top of what we know that businesses, or at least when we started, what we envisioned what businesses want and need. And back in 2019, that was, comes back to where the AI fits in and what happened. And this is it's really funny because I did a post more or less on LinkedIn like a couple of days ago, exactly on that. Kind of like a retrospective when wrong goes right. Because when we started in 2019 with Cloudonix, our original vision and thesis was that businesses want to take control over their communication systems because they don't want to get, an opinionated workflow. They want to be able to control their existing workflow. They want to be able to integrate the way they want to integrate and not work according to somebody else's methodology. Because that's what they wanted. And back in 2019, boy, were we wrong. Simply because the market and the business never thought of that capability. it only looked like a really big issue to them. There's a little bit of background noise. Give me a second.
And maybe doing these things from home.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a little bit of a problem when you're streaming from home. Could be some background noise. At least it's not a cat that comes across, crosses my camera. So as that, so we were at that point wrong, and then fast forward, 2025, and suddenly, all these businesses are scrambling to AI. But in order to get AI working the right way for your business, you need to take control back. Because if you don't actually, you're going to waste a lot of money. And you're going to waste money on phone numbers and call minutes and wrong transfers and missing telemetry and no insight into what really happens in there. And all these AI companies, they're amazing. And we work with all of them. You see the companies like Vapi and Retail and 11 Labs and SuperDash. And these guys, what they do, every time I see one of them doing something new, it's mind-boggling. But at the end of the day, they work with the agencies, and the agency needs to, at the end of the day, it's a voice, it needs to connect to some phone system. And oops, it's not that simple to do. And somewhere around October last year, October 24, we actually realized that we can solve all these problems. And within a very short period of time, we actually enabled most of the leading voice AI platforms to be directly connected from our platform directly. And today we have customers coming in and doing things at scale on Cloudonix and Retail and Vapi and 11 Labs that they couldn't do before.
Incredible.
That's the beautiful part. And for us, it's the same platform. It's the same tech. It's, for us, we're looking at it, the market actually got to the place we were at like 6 years ago, back in 2019. Proved our thesis right. We were just wrong in the timing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're patient people.
It's funny how often that happens.
Long enough.
Yeah.
Being right, but being right too soon is a problem. Because companies will go under in that interim. We were able to make all of the necessary changes to keep the company going and alive for the 4 to 6 years that it took for the rest of the world to catch up with our concept.
Amazing.
Which is an unusual place to be.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. All that takes like some real great operational and execution to kind of, weather that kind of storm. I want to take a step back, because the listeners and me even, like, we hear the word telecom all the time, right? It's all around us. We interact with it. What does it mean? Walk me through like maybe high level, like where Cloudonix fits in this like stack. And I don't even know what the stack is of like what telecom does.
Okay, so telecom is one of the most commoditized, ecosystem on one hand, and also one of the most misunderstood and most complex at the same time. And I know it sounds really weird, because everybody thinks about telecom. I pick up the phone, I dial somebody talks on the other side. I can do that with 2 cups and a string, right? But the thing is that entire space is incredibly intricate. And it's built out of multiple technologies, multiple signaling and audio technologies, involves a whole lot of media processing and being able to bounce media from one place to another in an efficient manner in order to get to where you want to get, where an audio is still properly done and you can actually converse with somebody. For voice AI, that is incredibly important. One of the biggest problems with voice AI is that, for example, you'll have a great engine like 11 Labs or Retail, and then you hook it up to some, you buy a number, let's say from Twilio or Telnix or whatever, but that number is coming in from God knows what carrier, and the latency and the audio quality is just horrible. So it's good for a human being to talk, because as humans, we understand, the human mind is able to fill the gaps of all these quirks. but an AI can't do that. And if the audio quality is not good enough, if the latency is too high, then it won't work. And to make all these parts work the right way, I always say that voice over IP in telecom, it's not a skill, it's a vocation. You need to invest yourself into it, and you need to become, let's say, become one with it. You need to live it. And we've been doing it for 20 years. And the biggest problem that we see today with all the voice AI platforms, it's not a problem actually. I don't think it's something they should do. They understand AI. They understand the orchestration of the AI. They understand the prompting and all these models. And this is not telecom, but they give services to a telecom world, and that's where we come in. Basically, we don't expect them to become experts at telco. We don't expect them to do that, but we do want them to become better at it.
To take one step back, you asked for a very high level, and you went a little deeper than I think you intended.
Love it, but yeah,
telecom in this case is if you are dealing with an agentic agent, okay, who's talking to you, you have one of two possible directions it's working. The agent is called out over the telephone network to your phone and is now quizzing you, trying to sell you something or qualify you or whatever. Or on the other side, it's an inbound call where they're calling a number, connects to the agent, and they're trying to do something, tech support, sales, whatever it is, schedule an appointment. So you have two sides of the equation. The telecom fits in both sides of this. One is connecting the agent to the outside world. How do I get it to connect or answer phone calls, get phone numbers, transfer between things? The other side is you bring it into the office, and it's I need to transfer you to a live human being. I'm now connecting you to the phone switch, the PBX inside the company. These kinds of transfers, again, telecom, it's all the same voice network, same technical infrastructure. But as Nir pointed out during Tech Week at one point, there are over 1,000 videos on YouTube on how a person can transfer a voice call.
Actually, I checked.
It's difficult.
It's over 50,000. There are over 50,000 videos on YouTube.
Wow.
How to transfer
a voice call.
There's a great one, I think it was from The Office, where somebody is now replacing the receptionist and tries to get the person to come over and just take the call at the reception desk rather than transfer. And then he transfers it, but to the wrong desk. So he has to run to that desk to transfer it, to run in. And the problem is AI agents don't have the concept of a telephone or a transfer. They have an action. So part of what we're bringing into the equation is the ability for that agent to programmatically transfer the call with all of the context, with all of the data. Oh, it transfers to a person. Do they answer, or is it their voicemail? They answer, they say, yes, I'll take the call. And it's 1 second to the person, while it then reads out the transcript or a summary of it. So the agent now has some clue as to why you're being transferred. These things are not designed into language model based agentic voice because it's not the kind of things that they're designed to do. And this kind of transfer, this kind of connection to phone networks, in some places in the world, you can't connect the AI directly to the telephone network. You need to use an intermediary set of technologies, which we provide. So this suddenly becomes how does telecom become necessary? It is the link between the agent and the person.
Amazing.
Voice is the strongest and the longest running API in the history of human beings. And it will continue to be for ages.
So in practice, what does this look like? 11 Labs agent, is it function calls? Is it like, hey, I'm realizing this person wants to be transferred. I have a tool here, which is, invoke the Cloudonix transfer, tool, or how do they actually integrate?
Okay, so that's the beautiful part. It's not, so when you think about voice agents, most people think in the very, I'd say binary manner. I have a tool, I activate the tool, and that's it. It will do the job. Wishful thinking in most cases. It's very good for data. Okay, but when it comes to actually doing things, initiating all kinds of workflows, that becomes a little bit more complicated. Now, most voice agent platforms take the concept of a transfer in a very simplistic manner. It means I either issue one specific signaling command and I hope that it will occur. Okay. And on the other hand, I may use a different command. And again, I hope it will happen. So both of these are kind of like a wishful thinking concept. The problem is that it doesn't really work. Now, I know this is going to be a horrible comparison. Okay. But if you're a Marvel fan, okay, a Marvel movies fan, so the way that the voice agent, their approach, I call it the Steve Rogers approach. It's Captain America. They go solo in and they try to do everything. Mm-hmm. And they hope to get it. They're optimistic, and it's great. They're supposed to do that. And basically, what we're saying when it comes to telecoms, okay, so actually, I think the Falcon has it better because he's got Red Wing. So effectively, you can turn with Cloudonix. What we actually enable you to do is create workflows that are triggered from your AI. So the AI will now trigger the workflow can involve multiple AI agents at the same time, can involve multiple phone systems at the same time, can create a situation where it will create some kind of conference call and then stream something into it, then disconnect it, then go somewhere else. And that's something an AI cannot do because you cannot prompt that. It's just too complex. Yeah. And you need full control because it is a synchronous operation. And the voice agent is completely asynchronous. You don't really know what it's going to do at any given time unless you tell it, activate that specific function to do a specific workflow and forget about it. Just stay out of the loop.
Makes sense. So it sounds like you guys handle, there's a point where, AI can only do so much, and you handle those complex workflows, both the workflow itself, which the AI probably wouldn't be able to decide, do this tool call, then this, then this, and this. So instead it's just do this one tool call, click, trigger off a workflow. And then you also handle the infrastructure side because even just running the code for all those workflow steps is probably super complex. When it comes to your product itself, obviously a lot of what you do is hardcore infrastructure stuff and, all of that. Within the tool, I know you have this workflow builder, it sounds like, that's drag and drop. Do you have any features where you're using AI in your product for, the customer to build things or anything like that?
Yeah, so there are some AI features in the platform itself. There are some basic agentic capabilities in there. Some of them are still experimental, but they're there. You can use, we're avid promoters of no code and low code. So most of our customers use platforms like Make and N8N and Active Pieces and Zapier-less. It's not so much fitted for this case, but N8N is amazing. It's somehow, so I've been an avid fan of Make for a long time. Cloudonix has a built-in Make application that you can use. And over the past few months, N8N had become a more favorite of mine because it is more akin to a developer. So for me as an engineer, N8N makes more sense. And it works really well with our platform. You can actually interface and do whatever you want on our platform with N8N. And the things we see our customers do with it is quite amazing.
Awesome. Amazing. So it sounds like, you're leaning on just these voice people, they're good at the model side, but you guys are good at the infrastructure. You're leaning on, these agentic systems to provide that to your customer instead of hey, we're not going to recreate N8N. We're going to focus on what we're good at and give you guys the ability to use N8N to build within our own, product and software.
It's when better to partner than to rebuild from scratch.
Yeah, makes sense. And then when it comes to, I know we're close to time, but one more question I have for you guys is when it comes to the business itself, are you using AI tools for, I don't know, marketing copy, operational processes, strategy, etc.?
Or no? Your department.
That's my headache.
I'm the vibe coder, but you're welcome to answer that one.
Okay, to be 100% honest, we were using minimal AI in our marketing and our outreach. Near did an email campaign. What was that? That was February 2023, where we had gone to a trade show, gotten all of the business cards, and he proceeded to have ChatGPT send out unique emails, including down to what is the language of the phone number that the person had on their business card. So we were sending out a couple of hundred emails and had a 90+% open rate.
Wow.
Which was completely unheard of. And we started playing with that and didn't get very far. We're now trying to get back to that now because we're an incredibly lean team. So I'm using now ChatGPT to help write copy code, redoing our whole investor data room, business plans. Our quarterly newsletter was prompted and written by ChatGPT after it quizzed me on things. Some of our graphics are being done that way. So we're slowly learning how to incorporate it in ways that match our business. But Nir and I are old school, so learning when to use the AI is a big one. One of the questions you had in the email was, what should startups not do with or know about AI? And Nir and I were discussing this earlier, and I think I've got a better analogy than what I gave you earlier, Nir.
Okay.
Everybody likes to think of AI as Jarvis from the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
Okay. Completely responsive, able to think, able to act on its own. Right now, we're dealing with the big thing from Hitchhiker's Guide. You ask it a question, it will give you an answer. It may not mean anything or be useful, but it'll give you an answer. And you get an awful lot of problems because people are expecting Marvel or Star Trek level quality of stuff, and we're kind of in AI version 1.1 or maybe 1.2, and Jarvis is something like AI version 50.
Totally.
Yeah.
People are expecting, you want to go to IBM and ask it to do data analysis on deep things, on medical, on whatever else. Pattern recognition and that we're really good at. The agentic point of getting it to think or act like a human being, we still can't get human beings to do that. How are we going to get the AI to match?
Yeah, totally. Love that.
I think that, to some extent, a lot of the early founders, people who just, starting out and looking at AI and thinking, there's a lot of hype around it. And they are very much romanticizing. They romanticize the idea. I'm going to sit down with Claude. I'm going to tell it, I want you to build me a CRM. And minutes later, I've got Salesforce. No, it doesn't work like that. I'm sorry. And I think that we're currently at this stage, in the development of AI, where founders of all kinds of businesses are looking at it, discovering it. They're going to use it for all the right things. They're going to use it for all the wrong things. They're going to use it in all the potentially wrong ways of doing it. I've done so myself. And, it's a learning curve, and everybody's going to do it. What I do recommend is that don't overly, for anybody who uses AI, is that don't overly fantasize about its capabilities. Effectively, AI and language models are, if I know that somebody's going to jump on me right now, is the world's biggest marketing or remarketing scam for linear algebra. Okay?
Yeah.
And you're effectively taking a neural network, which is nothing more than a whole bunch of vectors connected to each other and scanning them and then regenerating new content based on what you previously did and hoping that it will make sense.
Totally. You got to think about.
And all too often it doesn't.
Yeah. Which you got to use the right tool for the right job.
Yeah.
I use ChatGPT to kind of say, okay, help me find the top set of investors that we should be targeting based on the following criteria. And the first one it gave me, the company was right, but the person never worked at the company that it told me to contact. Never even worked on that coast. It's like, this is a guy out of LA, and you're telling me he works in New York City for a company that he has no affiliation with? There's a lot of problems with people using these tools who don't understand what the problem that they're asking is, to know when the answer makes sense. We've watched
and then you're spending more time like verifying if the answer is correct than like.
Well, I don't mind spending the time.
Yeah.
It's the people who don't bother that worry me.
Yeah.
We had people. Well, we went to programmers and we said, here's a programming test. And they took it verbatim into ChatGPT and sent us the answers. And there were code segments and modules that are never called or are repeating multiple times. And it's like, how? Okay, now explain to me what you're doing and why. And they just didn't understand the code because they're not programmers. Yeah. They're trying to be prompters as programmers. And you can't do that. You have to understand the basics to know when you're getting garbage out.
You know that last week we had a case here in Israel of a parliament minister who resigned from office, and before he resigned, he signed some kind of not law, but some directive that needs to be done. And then at the end of it, he quoted a short phrase from the Bible with a reference to where it is that doesn't exist.
using AI.
He's a rabbi. Like, guys, seriously?
Yeah.
Lawyers,
I mean, like with any technology, there's, to your point, I liked what you said. We're going to need to explore where it works, where it doesn't. We need to try these things because we don't know till we try, but we need to be skeptical and, take the time to actually, evaluate the responses. So, really enjoyed the conversation. I want to throw you guys.
One last comment.
Yeah.
It's a tool, not a replacement yet.
Right.
Totally. Exactly. You got to know where to use the tool and
where and how.
Right job. Well, really enjoyed the conversation. I'm going to throw Cloudonix's website up on the screen, cloudonix.com. Where else can people follow you guys and learn more about Cloudonix?
The best will be to join our Discord. So most of the day I'm lurking around there, so you can grab me and just ask whatever you want. Eric is also there. Alex from our marketing team is also there, so you can always come in, ask questions, and just address it at the very top. Anything.
Great. Link up here. Yep, Discord top right. Awesome. Well, thank you both. Really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for taking the time, Eric and Nir, co-founders of Cloudonix. Looking forward to continuing to follow along with your guys' journey. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.